Austin Rabine.
What's happening?
Welcome to Automating Success podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Joe Lightman here is the host and my beautiful daughter, Julia.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So Austin, Life is Good by Drake. I love your pick for a song. And the part that I liked the best was working hard on the weekends as usual. I heard that as an entrepreneur and thought, yep, I get shit for this from every one of my friends all the time. So,
yeah.
but elaborate a little bit more on any other parts of that song that really get to you.
I mean, honestly, I think that was like the biggest reason that I picked it was because that he says it twice in the song, and it always just gets me jacked up. And it's like one that I can listen to in the morning, and it's not too like doesn't go too hard, so you can listen to it when you're waking up and kind of start to get psyched for the day. It's actually a hard question for me because I love music, and I have like I don't know how many playlists on Spotify that I listen to throughout the day. So it's kind of between rap and heavy metal song that gets me psyched up. So, but that's the one right now.
Yeah. So this is what's awesome about music and why we think it's really cool for us to do this on our podcast is I think that at the end of the day, the music we listen to is relevant to the time that we're in our life. You know, sometimes there's challenging times and the music might be a little different than when things are just flowing and going easy. So right now, I'm assuming by Life is Good is the title of the song. You're feeling pretty high on life, you know, which I think you should be. You know, you're CEO of 2 companies, right? I mean, how crazy is that? You know, your cutting edge stuff with the technology you guys have going with Sight, which we're going to get into. But I am interested to know what your other, like, give me a top 3. So you said it was close. So what were the other 2 songs?
So there is one, and this is actually an older Drake song. I feel like I'm super basic because I've got 2 Drake songs in there. But Nice for What is another one that was like, I think that was in like 2018, maybe like early 2019. And that song always gets me like super pumped up, especially in the summer, listening to it with the windows down and blasting that song. Love it. And then another one, which is more heavy metal, which is Zeal and Ardor. And that one is Ship on Fire. That was another one. I was thinking about. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to listen to those now. You know.
Yeah.
So
he doesn't know the other Drake one.
Yeah. So it's funny to me because you know my old rap background was you know like the old stuff, right? I graduated in the 90s, so I listened to it. I'm like, rap is rap, and she'll listen to it, and it's like I feel like how I felt when I was driving with my mom and dad when they were listening to Oldies 104.3, you know, and I'm like, what the? She's looking at me like, what is this? What is this Snoop Doggy Dogg shit you're listening to, you know? But yeah, so now, you know, now I've kind of gone more into the Killers and Linkin Park. So most of my rap background is because of Julia here.
Yes, I provide the best music taste. I was happy that you chose a Drake song.
So, because she doesn't feel like an outlier now, you know?
Yeah.
I think she was worried. Like, so my intro song is The Killer, The Man by The Killers. And hers was
It's You Mad by Vic Mensa.
Yeah. So I think she was worried she was going to be the only person that picked a rap song.
Yeah.
You know? So you really did her well here, Austin.
Yeah, I'm glad I could help. Yeah. I have one rap playlist on Spotify that's like 1,000 songs from just over the last probably 2 years that I've got on there. So listen to a lot of music, but not just rap, country, some rock, all kinds of different stuff. So
Austin, you know, I know your dad. I've gotten to know him pretty well lately. You know, your dad, he's a mentor to me as a guy. You know, I'm 41. Your dad is kind of hit some of the levels that I'm at right now, and I kind of look up to what you guys are doing together as a group. So, but I want to know more about you because what interests me about you, and I think Julia also is, you know, Julia is kind of like you. She's my daughter. She's in business with me. She's COO of Automated Outdoor. And
awesome.
Our paths are quite similar, right? You know, you guys are in paving and snow removal. I'm in landscaping and snow removal. But now I look at everything you guys are doing with Sight and Pipe View and all the technology-based stuff you're getting into to support your customer base and use it as your differentiator, we're kind of doing a similar thing. And it's ironic to me is the older, the dad, looking at how she's taking over the technology side with AOS, much like you're doing with your dad with Site. So that's kind of some of the stuff I want to speak on today.
Yeah, sure.
Learn about from your perspective, so just kind of give you that little summation. So cool. I want to know, like right out of the gate, young Austin, tell us kind of about where you were at and how you became who you are currently.
Oh man. All right. Well, so I grew up in Johnsburg, which is what northwest of the city of Chicago, basically in Wisconsin, as you guys know where that's at.
Yeah.
Just a small town. Grew up with an amazing family. My dad, and so I had both my parents, and I was the oldest of 2 sisters and then a little brother. So really just had a great childhood growing up. We lived on a lake, and my mom, her full-time job was taking care of us. So summers growing up were amazing. We'd go to, Six Flags and hang out with friends and all kinds of stuff. So, it was a really, really amazing childhood. My dad worked a lot, but, was always there for us also. And, probably when I think I was 13 is when I started to get into business and work. So pretty young. So up until then, it was, all fun and games. And then I had to go out and earn my own money if I wanted to start doing stuff.
Yeah. So I know that you, for a little while, dabbled in the lawn care industry.
I did.
I learned that actually listening to your dad's Ditch Digger podcast.
Okay.
So, but I kind of want, a lot of our listeners are in that industry. So if you could elaborate a little bit on that, getting to the point where you got to earn your own keep, and how your dad pushed you into, or not pushed you, but maybe inspired you, I should say, in doing that,
I would say a little of both, right? I think there's some inspiration and some pushing as well. But it started out when I was 13 or 14. I think I was 13. And at that point, is when my dad kind of said, well, you guys start, if you want to do stuff, you got, or want the new CD or, the new movie that came out, then you got to earn it and pay for yourself. So at that time we had a pretty large yard just at our house alone. And so he was like, you can start using the lawnmower. I'll pay you to mow the lawn. And so I was making money doing that at first. And then I was like, man, this isn't so bad. Sitting on the lawnmower, listen to music all the time. I should go out and try to get some more business. So I started to drive the lawnmower around the neighborhood that we were in and drop off flyers and quote them for mowing their lawns on a weekly basis. And so it got to the point where I had to buy the lawnmower off of my dad. And it was a cheap, junky lawnmower at the time. So maybe it was $1,000 or something like that, not $500. So I had to, kind of like took a loan out from him until I could pay him off. And then after a year, I was able to afford the Toro 0-turn radius, which was a little more expensive, and bought that along with a trailer to be able to haul it around with, but I still couldn't haul it. So my mom actually was driving me around to mow lawns. And so she would drive my trailer around and truck, she used her truck at the time before I could purchase one. So we used her SUV and a trailer and the tractor that I bought. I had like a couple of commercial properties that I did. There was like a strip mall up in Spring Grove. Did my dad's couple of his commercial properties, and then a bunch of residential. So I always joke because when I was like 14 years old, I was making more money than I was at 23 years old coming into the Rabine Group to work as a project manager. So I felt like I was.
You got to talk to your dad about that, Austin.
Yeah, well, that's just how it goes. Yeah. Being in a family business.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my mom would drive me around to the different spots, and it was funny because she would help me. She would pick up while she was waiting, grab the weed whacker and help, and then finally when I was 16, I was able to afford my own truck, and from the money that I had earned mowing lawns over the previous year or two, and started to expand even more, do some more commercial properties. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think it was a great introduction into, going out and selling for myself, keeping a schedule to make sure that I was showing up to mow people's lawns when they needed it. Cause if you didn't show up, you'd hear from them. And then, even just from making sure that you're invoicing on time and collecting money and all of those things, I think it was a really great experience and kind of introduction into business at the time, when it was just, I didn't have a ton of risk there, right? It was just me. I didn't have any employees. So there, it was a good learning experience to be able to make some mistakes without a lot of risk.
Yeah. You have no overhead at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You that what you're explained there is one of the things that we always speak about with robotic lawn mowing, because now go to a company like mine with Langton Group, I have to somehow sell against young Austin.
Yeah.
Why would I use Langton Group and not use the kid in the neighborhood with the lawnmower? And I'm like, holy cow! This is something that I don't think pavers have to deal with. But
no, luckily not.
But you bring up the whole keeping a schedule and making sure you show up. That's what I always talk to people, even people just getting into landscaping. If you put a robot there, you always show up. And so you just, all you have to do at that point is know how to collect the money and sell the work, But,
exactly.
So what made you decide, though? What was it about landscaping that made you decide, okay, I'm done with this. I'm hanging it up?
I think that it was, I saw that I could buy. So what I did was I purchased, I got to the point where I hired my cousin I hired my sister to start mowing some of the lawns for me. I think it was my cousin and my sister that kind of like switched back and forth. So they were mowing lawns for me. And then I had, at like 17, had saved enough to buy a skid loader. So I bought it was a Case 90 XT skid loader and a roller attachment that I put on the front. So then I started to prep driveways. And that was even, I was making more money than I was mowing lawns. So I was like, all right, well, this is kind of nice. Now I can start doing this. And I worked as a subcontractor for my dad throughout the summers doing driveways. And then in the winter, I did snow removal for a neighborhood up in Long Grove, where I had all of the driveways that I was responsible for, and then the streets as well. So that was a super, super nice little project for me to kind of carry me through the winter. And then I sold the lawnmower to my sister, and she took over all my accounts. So I was able to make a little money there, and then saw that there was a bigger opportunity in prepping driveways and snow removal.
No, there's a lot less competition. You basically you swam to the deeper, cleaner part of the ocean.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah. So, definitely competition, because I think the equipment's a little more expensive.
Well, and especially in snow removal, you have to be a little bit insane to want to stay up all night and do what you do. So you basically go into it. You have to be a very hard worker to be in that category, and there's very few people that want to go those many hours.
Yep. Yeah, I ran into that a lot. It was funny because it was at that time when I was doing the snow removal, I had my skid loader, obviously an attachment for the snow plow, and then I had a pickup truck and just like a little dump truck to salt the streets, and the trucks weren't difficult to find people to run, but I also needed like 2 shovelers to be out there.
Oh my gosh!
And those nobody, I think. I went through those guys like nothing. Someone would show up, and after like being out there for 3 hours, they're like, I can't do this anymore, and they would just go home.
Well, so Julie, you want to talk about your shoveling?
So I started shoveling a couple years ago. Well, I don't know how old I was. I mean, I was probably 17, maybe 16 or 17.
I think it was right when you were 16.
Either way, though. I was like, oh, this will be no big deal. I'll shovel for a couple hours, make some good money, because you told me $25 an hour. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so much. Like, I'm down. And then I don't know where I shoveled the first couple of times, but somehow I ended up at Sonatas, which is like some
Maples at the Sonatas in Woodstock, which is just north of
Woodstock.
So it's a big place. Yeah.
So here I am, me, and the dispatchers are like, yeah, other people are going to show up. Like, it's just like, just start shoveling some stuff. And more often than not, there would be nobody.
Well, this is typical snow dispatch.
Yeah.
When there's I have no one, you don't tell the people shoveling, we have no one. So they're coming, just keep going,
Yeah.
So unfortunately it happened to my own daughter,
Yeah, so I got stuck shoveling basically the entire thing. Every once in a while I'd have like 3 people. But I already would have half of it done by the time they got there. So I was shoveling for like a day. Like, I think I had like 30 something hours one of the times I was shoveling.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing that, I don't feel bad for them.
Yeah. So Austin, it's one of the things, and I'm going to use this opportunity as a plug because it's one of the reasons I push so hard to find automation, right? I mean, the podcast is automated success, right? And that's what the stuff we're going to start diving into. But this left-hand robotics machine that I have can snow blow 20 miles of sidewalk every 10 hours. Okay.
Wow.
So it's like, people are always telling me, oh, you're taking away jobs with your technology. And I'm sure you have similar conversations with your drone stuff with Sight and Titan.
Sure.
But what I tell people is I'm taking jobs in this that nobody wants. People come in for an interview and I'll ask them, so what's your experience? And like, I've had to shovel my mom and dad's driveway since I was 12. And I'm like, okay, so what have you done besides that? Well, nothing. And I'm like, holy cow, you have no idea. This is, take one driveway times 300.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm going to send you to go do,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was funny because I've found, so other than these two guys that, 2 of my best friends, Aaron and Mark from high school, they were they're super consistent, but it was because we also had a lot of fun out there. Like, we'd be out in the middle of the night and we'd take breaks here and there and just hang out. And like, it was fun to be out there with some of your best friends. But other than that, it was like, we couldn't find anybody that wanted to do that job.
Well, and see, this is what sucks about snow removal is, and this is what happens in lawn care and everything. If you find shovelers that are really good, it's hard to let them move up because you're like, I can never lose this guy. There's a guy that hopefully he'll tune in this podcast one day. His name was Ben, and he would get a few guys together. And we literally, the song Benny and the Jets, Benny and the Jets. We used to, every time Ben would show up, we referred to him and his crew as Benny and the Jets because they got shit done so fast and they would go from place to place. But when Ben asked me if he could go into a machine, I was like, oh shit, because I lose the jet, but this is, going back towards automation. These are the things that happen when you bring automation into an industry like ours,
For sure.
Because on the snow removal side, now that you're running stuff for your dad at Rabine, are you dealing with any of the snow stuff, or do you guys have a separate division for that? Do you have to deal with staffing that?
So we have a separate company for that. So I oversee all of the businesses right now. So Dave, he's been with us for probably I think 5 years now, overseeing snow and does a great job. So he for the most part I don't really have to other than checking in on sales and how are things going and looking at metrics and stuff like that. I don't have to get too involved with it unless there's, an issue or just checking in on how things are going on. So
yeah, so your days of being up all night chasing the white gold flakes are over.
Yeah. I do miss it sometimes though. It's like
so this is what's crazy about us, right? It's like you try all this time to get out of it. I tell her all the time, like, I can't keep doing this shit. Like, why am I doing this? And then the first time I decide not to go out on a snow event, I'm like, well, I'm going to go check on the guys. But I still go out. I don't know what the problem is. I cannot get out of that rut, which is when it's snowing, I need to be in a truck, So.
Yeah, same. No, I mean, I haven't done it for a while, but there's definitely, I don't know. I was thinking about it the other day. I was talking to somebody one of our teammates. And it's like, I don't know, the war stories and like those really difficult times are sometimes like the most fun and the ones that you look back on and like, man, that was awesome. We accomplished a lot. It it was a pain in the ass and it sucked at the time, but looking back at it, that was a cool experience.
Yeah, well, that is the thing about snow removal is it's a unique industry with that because, unfortunately, one day regulation is going to hit and they're going to not allow people to work more than a 12-hour shift, which
Right.
actually I'd probably advocate for because it probably needs to happen sooner than later. But on the flip side, so much gets accomplished with a team of people in one night. And the whole time you're like at each other's throats sometimes and just, you got people calling being like, you want me to go where and why? And you're like, just do it. I need you to go, but then afterwards, the level of accomplishment, the feeling of accomplishment is it's like almost like an endorphin rush just before you go home and go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I remember there was one night where we were probably out for, I don't know, 30 plus hours snow plowing, and my buddy that was shoveling for me, he got done early. I always took a little bit longer. So it's like, just go back to the truck, just put the tailgate down for me so that when I'm done, set everything up so I can just run the machine up the trailer and we can get out of here. And I show up and nothing was done, and he was passed out in the cab, and I was like, I am gonna kill you. Like, I just went off on him. I was so pissed because we'd been up for 30 plus hours and just at each other's throats the whole time.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point now where we have certain areas that will park. So like our dispatchers know if people like at our Costco's or whatever go and park in the back corner by the gas station, or at our shop, like if drivers come back and park, we have like do not disturb zones now, because now we realize like, okay, a lot of times you only need like a 2 or 4 hour nap to clear the cobwebs, But I also will tell you that it does get frustrating because the longest I've ever gone in snow removal, I've been up for 57 hours straight. And I'm like thinking, okay, I'm up for 57 hours and I've got this 20-year-old guy that would be up for 30 hours if he was partying, but tells me he can't stay up more than 10 hours. Or, like, those are all the frustrations in snow removal,
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about that, but it's always fun when you can share a similar experience,
Yeah, for sure.
So you sold the equipment to your sister. You went in driveways. What kind of made like take me from there to where you are now? You know, like literally just jump from you're doing some subcontracting work for your dad. I think the part that I want to learn most about, and I think our listeners are going to want to hear most about, is what inspires you to get into sight. I mean, this drone stuff you're doing, it fascinates me. So get me into what part of your brain said, man, I can start sending drones all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, so technology has always been something that I've been really interested in, just from let alone growing up with technology and just seeing different apps and different things that are coming into the market. And I've always been really interested in how those things can, how we can take those and relate them to our business. It's, construction is an old school business with very little technology that's been implemented over time. Other than, there's equipment technology and stuff like that, but really that's about it. And there was even prior to site, something that my dad and I had started that was, Uber had come out and I started using Uber. I live in the city, so I was using Uber all the time, and I was like hearing in the office all of these issues that we had with trucking. And I was like, man, there's got to be a way that something similar to what Uber is doing can be used in trucking. So that was another thing that we kind of started, and that particular project didn't really go anywhere because I kind of had to refocus my time. But a couple of years later, we met somebody else that was interested in that industry, and now my dad and him have actually built a company called XBE that's doing something very similar for trucking as Uber. So I've always been interested in looking at current technologies, and I'm not coming up with anything like super innovative, right? I'm just looking at things and how they can translate into our industry to make us more efficient. So we had, for a long time, my dad had always done these things that were called RPMs, which were Rabine Pavement Management Programs. And we would send an engineer or subject matter expert out to a facility. They'd walk the facility. They would take a few pictures. They'd come up with a condition report and a budget for that one property. And we deliver it in a PDF and an Excel document. And it was valuable. It helped us build really great relationships with clients, and it helped them manage their properties more efficiently. But it was really just a snapshot of that one single facility. And so as we grew, we started to get more and more national clients. So we started a company called Rabine Paving America, which was just focused on national big box retailers, real estate investment trusts, property management companies, and we essentially subcontracted all of the equipment and labor out to a local contractor. But we would manage the work. We'd communicate with the facility. We'd communicate with the client. And so when we started doing more of that, all of these properties, we were still trying to kind of figure out how we can leverage these RPMs to be able to build better relationships and to be able to get information on facilities for our clients. So we had one national retailer who had us doing this for all of their distribution centers. I think it was every 4 years we would do it. And they had 37 distribution centers across the United States. We'd fly people all over to capture, or to go out and walk these facilities, and it would take 7 or 8 months to do 37 facilities. So it was just like we would get information back. It wasn't great data. There wasn't, if there were changes to the scope, there wasn't a lot that we could do because we only had a limited amount of pictures that the guy on site took. So it was valuable to the clients, but we just knew that there was a better way to do it. I remember we even started to, at one point we had somebody that was in charge of our sales team, Sam, who they started to send like interns out. So we wanted to figure out how we can send somebody, at a lower cost to capture information, and then have somebody in the office put the condition reports together and budget. So at one point he even had somebody go out with a GoPro and like a skateboard or something like that and walk and skate through a parking lot just to capture imagery and videos of the whole facility. And then we attached a camera to the front of a car, and then the car would drive through and take a video of the entire parking lot. So we were trying all these different things. And then at one point, one of my dad and I's friends reached out to us, who has a venture fund in New York, and said that there is a company that they were looking at that has these drone networks. And we were like, well, that's interesting. So we started to look into it. We talked to them, and they have thousands of these independent drone pilots throughout the United States who are all FAA certified, professional drone pilots that we could hire as needed anywhere in the U.S. So we're like, well, that would be super interesting to be able to solve some of the scalability issue that we're seeing in sending people out to all of these facilities. So we started to play around with it. I mean, at first the drone imagery was at like 300 feet in the air, and it was, the information we were getting was really cool, but not a lot that we could do with it from an assessment standpoint. So then we started to play around with the flight plans. We got a handful of flight plans flight plans or recipes, we call them, in place where, we knew what the elevation needed to be for pavements, for roofs, for facades. We're looking at landscaping for all of these exterior pieces of a facility. And it, came down to elevation, camera angle, crosslap and overlap of the images. And we got it to a point where we're like, this I think is really valuable. Like, we're onto something where this should be scalable for clients that we're dealing with, to find a lot of value in these assessments. So this was in 2017, and we were working on it within Rabine Paving America for probably 6 to 8 months. And then, eventually I went to my dad and said, I really think that there is a huge opportunity for this business outside of Rabine. Still, obviously we still own the business, but outside of kind of the Rabine paving and roofing entities, because there could be so much more from a tech standpoint and from data collection and what we're delivering to the client. So in 2018, January of 2018, we officially started Site because we had a handful of clients that really liked what we were delivering to them. So the deliverable is essentially, before it was that one-off property and it was a PDF of a facility. Now we got to the point where, okay, we have this digital clone of a facility that you can zoom in, you can see tiny cracks on the pavement, you can see a wrapper on the ground, and now we're able to annotate on that map. So essentially like on Google Earth, I'm sure that, when you guys are doing quotes, you go in and you measure from Google Earth. Well, we can do that with the drone imagery as well. So we create, a bunch of different layers on this drone mapping. It's essentially just Google Earth except on steroids. And we have a bunch of layers. So we'll go in, we'll create a condition for the facility, and then we create a 5-year maintenance plan for the facility. And so they can go in, they can toggle on, the zone map, see the conditions of all of the zones and their pavements or their roofs, go into 2021, see the work that should be performed there. And then they get this visual of exactly what needs to be done to maintain that property. So that's kind of that was the first piece. And then we said, all right, well, this is great and this is super valuable, but there's a ton of data and information that we're capturing here that we should be able to create some sort of analytics and dashboard for our clients. So then we started to build that out. Now we have, and really at first it was just an MVP that we built, and we just released a brand new kind of platform and dashboard for our clients. But so now we take all of those properties that our engineers and subject matter experts are doing the review on and annotating, and now we're taking all of that information and we're creating actionable reports. So now somebody that oversees 1,000 properties can go in and they can see their best property all the way to their worst property. They can see how much money they're spending per year at each property. If they need to reallocate budgets, there's tools in there for them to be able to sort through that and say, okay, this is where we should push off work for the next year or 2 years. So I mean, it's been a really fun company and product to build, because it's something that, again, we just took, a couple different technology, things that were already out there, and we figured out how to repurpose them for our industry. Like I said, now we're doing pavements, we're doing roofs, facades. We're starting to look at lighting. We have an intern on our team that's a LEED certified engineer who is he's basically looking at facilities and figuring out what LEED points it has, and then, hey, here are the couple little things that you can do to get the next LEED credits. And then we're also starting to capture interior of facilities as well. So we're going in and we're using a couple different cameras to capture interiors and be able to do assessments for the interiors of properties.
So the thing you brought up with the LEED credits, I literally cannot believe that I bring a guy on my podcast, and not just a guy, but Austin Rabine, and you start talking about something you're doing, and much like, I mean, I did your dad's interview, and it's so crazy to me. Like, this is what's awesome about technology companies, the amount of pooling we can do together, Yeah. So with us in the robotic mowing business, okay, like, we've reduced our carbon footprint by 81,000 pounds.
Well, it's really probably more, but like, there's a lot more. It's more than that.
Okay, so it's more than that. So the last estimate was 81,000 pounds, okay, with just probably, a 10% conversion so far for Langton Group. So I took my Langton Group customers, and, like, I don't know, where do you live now? Like, where do you live?
In the city, in downtown, West Loop, Chicago. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're out here by me and your dad all the time, if you go down Route 14, like I'll say Catalent Pharmaceuticals, for instance, I have 11 robots there. I have stuff that's plugged into the building and stuff that we have an off-grid solar solution, right? But when you cumulatively add all of this up, tons and tons of carbon footprint saving. And then I start looking at stuff in California, where they're a net zero build state now. Sorry, we're going to have to do just a bit of editing. I think that my dog has to go out and, okay. Chris, thank God I have a podcast editor. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a catastrophe. So, all right, so let's hit the restart button. So so now with you're talking about using Sight and you have someone on staff that's figuring out what lead points there are. In California, they're net zero build now. So California is a massive market for guys like you and I, because they can't build in California unless they can figure out how they're going to decrease carbon somewhere else.
That's
so
crazy.
Like literally after this episode, you and I, we need to figure something out. There has to be some sort of collaboration here. You know?
Absolutely. Well, totally. Because I mean, we're starting to go in. So our clients actually don't know that we're doing this yet, because we just kind of he's actually just an intern for us this year. He's great. He's a super smart kid. But yeah, he's going in, he's looking at these facilities, and he's doing simple stuff as far as just like add a bike rack, add a carpool parking stall. You know, use the lawn robot, like very simple things that now they can start to add up to these different LEED certifications.
Well, yeah. So like we've got a deal right now where we're working on something with a national cemetery group, and you know, when I brought up the fact that if they like convert entire cemeteries over, they should be able to get some LEED points, and they're like, well, how do I get them? And I'm like, well, I don't know. You know, so now it's like I'm on a podcast with you, and I'm like, I think Austin might know, and you do, you know.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, you know, it's like it's part of True Mentors. You know, one of the things I was talking about is like your success is you're as successful as your network, you know. And
totally.
At the end of the day, it's like this is like networking 101. You know, you start talking to somebody and hear what they're doing, and light bulbs just start going off. You know, so
for sure,
that is amazing. Like that to me is really that's some special stuff right there. That not only were you able to take something that's already innovative, right? Like let's tap into a drone network. Amazing, just in itself. That's pretty awesome because drones are cool. As I was sitting out on my deck this morning on your dad's golf course, I say to Julie, I'm like, look, a drone, and the drone's zipping down the golf course. Well, I know it's one of yours. Checking on the golf course looks for your dad, you know. But anyhow, you know, you do that. Then you figure out, okay, we did this for a specific need, much like what we're doing with automation. You know, I did it for a specific need, which was to cut down on environmental pressure. Okay, so you were in landscaping at some point, right? So what happens for me is a large landscaping company, if it rains Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the person that got mowed on Friday, they don't remember it rained Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So when I don't show up till Sunday, they think I'm unreliable. They just don't realize that the whole schedule got pushed, right? And then it throws everything off. So first I look at robots and I say, if this just solves our environmental pressure, it's worth the investment. To me, that's what you guys did. Drones, figure out so we don't strap cameras to trucks, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Then you figure, okay, now I have this extra data. What do I do with the extra data? Which is what really happened with us after Langton Group started using it. Then I realized, okay, well, now we know how to fix the robots. So AOS will fix robots for other people, and AOS will start franchising so that we can help people with the automation. And we put guys like Austin together in a group so that people that landscape can landscape, but we make the technology easy, which is what you're doing for your customers. You took technology and basically said, let's roll it in everything, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think it was your point to eliminating jobs before. I wanted to comment on that because we hear that all the time. Like, well, aren't you going to be eliminating the engineer's job because they're not going out on site and doing these different things? And like, no, absolutely not. I mean, we're still going to need those engineers because what we're doing. So with all the imagery that we have now, we've kicked off a project where we're building artificial intelligence and machine learning to be able to detect, have the software or computer detect, issues in the pavement or in the roof automatically. So now we get, a report saying here's where all the issues are, and then our engineers take it from there and do any additional customizations that they need to do. But really, that's all they're doing is it's just maximizing their time and allowing them to do something that they're more efficient and would rather do, rather than looking at thousands of pictures and looking at cracks and stuff like that. Now they're looking at a report and they're actually making decisions about how that pavement should be maintained. Not only that, but now they can do, 100 times, if not more, than what they would have been able to do otherwise. So, we're just allowing them to do more with technology, but they're still going to have that job. We're just taking the parts away that they don't really want to do anyway.
Well, and it's safe to say too, okay, so you're tapping into a drone network of, you said, certified people, FAA, stuff like that, right? And you're increasing the amount they're working with their drones, right? So you're a job creator. I mean, that's the thing that I always try to explain to people. And maybe for you, I kind of get the whole engineering side of it, right? Because that's a high-paying job. But the jobs that I'm replacing are jobs that have a glass ceiling. Because what happens for me, going back to the shoveler, okay?
Yep.
I take a guy or a girl that mows grass at a high level, okay? Because the people that don't mow at a high level, I get rid of, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not good enough for Langton. They don't fit our values. They don't do what I ask them to do for our customers. So they leave, exit left. So now the people that are really great, I have a decision to make as a business owner. If I bring this person up in the company, I have to bring somebody else in to mow, or I can just leave that person on the mower. But when you're in a market that only pays $40 an acre, here, let me ask you a question. When you were mowing, okay, because it hasn't changed that much, what would you charge for a 1 acre yard?
Probably 30.
Okay, so 30, right? So no labor burden, no anything. Now this will make sense to our listeners that listen.
Yeah.
When I tell my customers I offer health insurance, my foreman get a 401k, I have workman's comp, I have new trucks, and they're like, well, Austin can do it for 30. And I'm like, well, I need to be at 53 to break even. They're like, well, then you need to do something. And I'm like, shit. So now I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to mow grass for $40 an acre?
Right.
I'm never going to be able to pay somebody more than $16 an hour. So what quality worker am I going to get? I'm not doing any value for our economy at all.
For sure.
In schools, guidance counselors don't say, hey, get A's, get B's, don't have good grades, and then go work for Joe Langton at Langton Group cutting grass. Like no one's telling kids to do that, but they are telling them to learn about technology. They are, and whether kids want to learn about it or not, technology is in front of them every day. We're doing a Zoom call, a podcast that we used to not be able to do this way. We would be in a room with a microphone recording. There'd be 5 people sitting in another room listening to us. Now we could get on, I could do 5 podcasts today, all from different locations, right? Yeah. So, when you start talking about technology, it doesn't kill jobs. It creates new ones, number one. And it streamlines things so that the consumer can still pay the rate they've budgeted.
Right.
At the end of the day, you guys work for big corporations, so do I. Yeah. They don't want to see their outside maintenance budget increase.
Right, exactly.
They want to see it stay here. And if anything, you're their hero if you can bring it down 3%. Because those store managers get bonus up if they can decrease outside services. Which is why companies, in my opinion, go into decline, because the store managers are told, decrease the cost of your outdoor services. Guys like you, myself, your dad, we're trying to build up companies and pay our people more money. It cannot work together. When the big companies are trying to bring it down, we're trying to bring it up. You have to bring in the technology you guys are using as the equalizer. Technology is the equalizer.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So another piece of technology. So we're talking about that, and I guess continue on. Keep going, expanding on the lead stuff, or if I maybe cut you off with some of your future plans with where you want to go with it.
Yeah. So the goal of Site is for us to be kind of the one solution, one-stop shop for property owners to go to when they have a question about just their facilities in general. I mean, we're starting to look at mechanical units just from an inventory standpoint, because today they have, we talk to any one of our clients and they have somewhere that they go to for their pavement information. They have another platform for their roofs. They have another one for lighting. They have another one for HVAC. And it's getting to a point where they don't, they want one place to go. And they don't want to have to go into all these different systems, and everybody has a different interface and different information. So the goal for us is to be that one solution that they go to for their conditions, their budgets, just general information about the equipment on their facilities, and I think that we're in a really good position to be able to do that, because we're seen as the subject matter expert. We're subject matter experts that are enhanced through technology. Anybody that we're competing against is very tech driven, but they don't have the ability to create those valuable insights for the client. Like, they deliver a cool product, but then the client looks at it and they're like, okay, this is awesome pictures, cool technology. What does it mean? What do I need to do to my roofs? What do I need to do to my pavements to maintain them? How do I cut my budgets, or better spend my money across all of my facilities? So we're in a really good position because we understand what they're looking for. And yeah, I'm super excited about the future of site. I mean, like I said, we're just now starting to test out interiors, which is going to be really valuable to our clients. And we're still trying to figure it out. There's a bunch of different, like I said, cameras out there, 360 cameras. There's the Matterport camera, but we're trying to find what's scalable from a timing and cost perspective, and also gives us the data that we need to be able to create those insights. Right. Another really cool technology and kind of partner that we just recently went into partnership with through Site is a company called Utilist. They're headquartered out of Israel, and the CTO there, and I'm going to talk about this. I don't understand the technology at all, so don't ask me too many technical questions. But the CTO and founder used to work for NASA, and he was working on a project that they were looking for water on other planets using satellite imagery. So he was able to take that same technology and use it for water utilities and municipalities. So now he's able to take an image from a satellite and be able to pinpoint water leaks on water utilities, and then also for municipalities in general, he does this. And I mean, it's crazy that some of the tiny leaks that they've been able to find from a satellite underneath the ground is really, really impressive. So they've actually, with a lot of their municipalities, they're at a point where the municipality's like, look, only give us X number of leaks, a month, because that's all we can handle to fix. Like, we can't fix, 10,000 at a time. Give us 100. So the technology is really cool. And what we've done is we partnered with them to be able to, because on facilities, as you probably know, the biggest thing that kills a facility is water. So in a roof, it's water that gets into the roof system and destroys it. Same thing with pavement. If there's moisture underneath the pavement, that area and that pavement is going to fail a lot faster than anywhere else on either their portfolio or on that property specifically. So they've taken the technology and they've kind of calibrated it for finding moisture underneath surfaces that we're now starting to deliver to our clients. So we've gotten an exclusive agreement with them where we're the only ones that are able to sell this to our clients for facilities and commercial, retail, industrial, to be able to find moisture underneath the ground, and then also eventually underneath roofing systems. So that's just another really cool differentiator that nobody else in the world is able to do.
So Austin, check this out. I got to tell you this. So
yeah,
your dad's going to probably tell you, because we've already talked about it. Like that technology is fascinating, and it's fascinating to me because I brought this up to your dad. That you guys, and this is what's awesome about networking. Once again, is because say you guys look at a pavement and roofs and stuff. So I'm hearing this. There's a couple things I'm thinking of. A, The only thing that kills a robot lawnmower is standing water. Okay. At the end of the day, a robot lawnmower uses resistance. It learns a yard by measuring the resistance in the cutting system, right? So when they're standing water, the robot's like, wow, that's some really long grass. And it just goes over there and it frolics around in the pool of water until it makes a pig pen, right? So in automated outdoor, we're always like, okay, we need to recognize water. So the first thing I hear when I hear this is, holy cow, I can literally get no automower zones like right out of the gate before we make the mistake and piss off the customer. So that's number one. Yeah. I think, wow, we've really got to be partnering. Yeah. Secondly, I brought up to your dad slip and fall liability in our snow companies, okay? Because when you have water pushing up from underneath the surface, this happens all winter, it snows, we clear pavement, and then all of a sudden you've got water pushing up from the curb lines and the cracks. Huge. And I could literally see a day where you'll be selling this information to Snow and Ice Management Association and lawyers and stuff to defend slip and fall claims. Yeah. And say, hey, this has nothing to do with the contractor. They have a groundwater issue, or the city has a water main break. And honestly, Austin, like
I never thought about that. Yeah, no, that's a really good application for that tool.
Yeah. So see, this is why we need to talk more, But yeah. So your dad's telling me about this stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown right now because this is what's really cool about getting. It's like what I find is people in technology, we get so passionate about it, we're willing to talk about it for hours on end.
Oh yeah, okay? Yeah.
And since there's very little competition in it right now, there is a huge amount of viability to say, okay, it's okay if I talk to Joe and he kind of takes this side and runs with it because I can't run everywhere in the world, And that's what's really cool about guys like us right now is when you're like bleeding edge on something, you learn so much just talking to people. I'm sorry, as I'm talking to you, I'm like so excited. I actually might be more excited talking to you than your dad, just because your dad I've already researched and studied and learned about, But with you, there's a lot of stuff going on with similar things with Julia and I.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how much in the last 2.5 years that I've learned just from, whether it's technology or how different companies manage their facilities, or talking to, VC, we haven't raised any money, but it's something that we've discussed. So just talking to those people and just, learning a whole nother industry is
VCs, did you say, do you mean venture capitalists or
yeah, venture capitalists.
Just for people listening that might not realize that term, I just wanted to elaborate on that.
Yeah. It's been fascinating just learning about a completely different industry. And it's been a lot of fun. So
no, Austin, it's funny you bring up the venture capitalist stuff, because I tell people all the time, like I'll go to sell robotic lawnmowers to somebody in Lake Forest or something, and I get kind of like, I'll go on like 3 quotes, and I find my business radar is kind of going off, because I'm like, these people really want a robot? Or what are they really trying to do right now? And then all of a sudden they'll be like, yeah, I'm a venture capitalist, or I'm a private equities investor, and I've heard a lot about your business. And, you really start to realize when you're onto something. I've, and much like you guys probably with Rabine Group with the paving, built this great paving organization. I've got a large landscape and snowmobile company, but I'm never going to venture capitalist or a private equities company being like, hey, you need some money, Yeah. When you start doing other stuff and people are talking to you about that, you're like, isn't it the most inspiring thing? You literally go to bed at night thinking like, wow, I'm really onto something here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And another thing that I'd love to talk to you about more, we've been, for the last probably last 5 years, I've talked to a handful of different people about building robots for striping parking lots, because I think it's the biggest pain in the butt. We don't self-perform it, so we always subcontract it out. When we look at like distribution centers, who are a lot of our clients, just to stripe their parking lot, which is really important, because the trucks need to know where to go and where the trailers need to go. It's a pain in the butt because they have to move all of the trailers to get out of the way for the striping machine to come in and the guy to stripe it, line it off. I mean, if they could have a robot that could stripe the parking lot on their facility, it'd be a no-brainer for them to do that.
So Austin, I've got chills right now.
Yeah.
The reason you just gave me chills is because when we get off this call, you can research a company called Swazi. And if you check me out on LinkedIn, we just became a Swazi dealer. Now, right now, what Swazi does, but it's funny you bring this up because I literally already told Swazi this. So Swazi is a robotic field striping unit. It can stripe a football field in 22 minutes with letters and everything in the field. So, I mean, not only the lines, but you could say Bears and Packers on the other side, and it'll stripe it, okay?
That's crazy.
So I brought up to them, I said, hey, let me tell you what you need. Because I get asked all the time, is Langton Group to start doing seal coating? And I'm like, hell no, this is not. Yeah. This is a big shift for me. Totally different equipment. It doesn't make sense. But I have often thought when I watch people seal coat or pave a parking lot, I've noticed from a distance, the paving part seems easy, but then you've got to coordinate how you're going to stripe it and laying it out and the other stuff. Exactly. So this is 2 centimeter accuracy. This is how accurate it gets. And it stripes. So when I talked to Swazi about this, and honestly, they're going to be one of my guests, by the way. They're an upcoming guest, so you'll have to tune into that episode.
Yeah.
I said, why don't you have a parking lot striper? And they said, well, in Switzerland, because this is where they come from, there's not a big demand for it, and it's a different kind of paint. And I said, listen, if you have the GPS satellite system, you have to be able to just change the paint to be able to do parking lots, So they said to me, well, get some people that do it and tell us how to do it, and we'll make you a parking lot striper. So here today, this is what we're doing. You and I, we're going to call Swazi in Switzerland, and we're going to figure out what it takes for them to take their stuff and turn it into a parking lot striper. Because this is crazy. I mean, it's like similar minds,
Yeah. Well, and you're exactly right. I mean, that's the only part that would need to be figured out, because you could. So usually there's CAD files that will have the layout of the parking.
And that's how these work, is all off a CAD file.
Right. Or if we have drone imagery, all of that has GPS data, so you can lay it out that way. So the laying it out part should be. I mean, again, I like technology, but I don't know how it works all the time. But I imagine that this should be pretty easy.
Well, and what they brought up was if we wanted to, since the layout is 90% of what's difficult, right? They're like, if you wanted to, just use like field striping paint, like it's like a primer, or use like that type of paint to just stripe it quick, and then all somebody has to do is walk behind it with the machine, and there's no layout. Now, that in itself is a solution, right? But going back to your drone stuff at the beginning, you use the drones for one thing, and you narrowed it in to make it full solution, a bigger picture solution. So I think we can narrow this down and make this better. And honestly, you should try to make some time to come out to Woodstock, and I'll show you the Swazi. And because you'll get to see it. What's crazy is this company's smart enough to be able to deal with the heavily unionized area we live in the Chicago market. So I literally am going to be selling 2 units. One is a completely automatic drive wheels that drives itself. And then the other unit is pushed by a person, but there's a GPS unit on the screen. And if you get off track, it just shuts off the sprayer. So your person pushes it, and it basically tells them there's like a gain meter, left, right. And if you get too far off, because the arm adjusts for that accuracy, if you're too far off that the arm can't adjust, it just stops the sprayer. You back up the cart and start to push again.
That's awesome.
Right? I mean, it's like amazing stuff. There's another company right now in Europe that makes a robotic parking lot sweeper. They think they're called Enway. You should look them up on LinkedIn. And I'm like literally begging them to get me a unit to the United States, because Langton Group does parking lot sweeping, for Walmart, and man, oh man, if I could just park sweepers at a Walmart and let them sweep 7 days a week. Because what happens, if you're in facilities management, what happens with a Walmart is we only sweep 1 hour a night, okay? And then a manager comes in at 8 in the morning and they take a picture of a receipt and they go, I thought I have a parking lot sweeper. And I go, yeah, the receipt says 7:30 a.m. We swept at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know? But so anyway, it's just, I mean, the world we live in right now, going back to your song, Life is Good, to be in technology right now and to be a leader in it, I mean, it's just, I can't imagine the potential. It's unimaginable.
Yeah, it's a blast for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how we've been on some, like, not recently, but I remember probably, I don't know, six years ago, we've been on some of those parking lot sweeping bid events. Holy cow, those are competitive.
Yeah, so you know what's crazy about parking lot sweeping for us is this is another business we kind of got dragged into, okay? And for you to learn a little bit about us, you know, we started out, all I was ever going to do was snowplow, you know, kind of like your dad. All I'm going to ever do is pave. That's all I'm going to do, right? So snowplowing, that's all we're going to do. But our customers, you know, our biggest customers then were Lowe's, Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco's. Costco's one of our biggest customers. And they said, man, we need you to do our landscaping. Your customer service level is so high. So for 5 months, we've got the best vendor outside we've ever had. And then we get our landscaper. That's literally what got us in. Well, then we start doing landscaping, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to deal with my street sweeper. Can you do street sweeping? You know? So it's what's gotten us into all of these things. Even down, we do irrigation for Walmarts. So like hearing this, so like another thing for me with you like monitoring water in the ground, I cannot imagine the amount of irrigation work I can get from Walmart using your guys' technology. I mean, Austin,
let's do it.
I mean, talk about scalability. I told your dad on our podcast, he's done something that I want to do, and I keep telling my team, I want to go from a large local contractor to a national contractor and be a world-class contractor. And I hear everything you're saying, and I'm like, this is how you become world-class, because I'm knowing things that are happening at Walmart and Costco before Walmart and Costco gets their water bill. And water is expensive. So if I can save them $1,000 over 7 months because they have a water leak, they'll gladly pay the $7,000 repair bill.
Yeah, for sure.
And not damage all their parking lot.
Yeah.
You know? So to kind of, because much like with your dad, time is flying. I realize. So how do you juggle doing the stuff with Site and then also at Rabine, right? Because we share a similarity. I'm running Langton Group. I'm running AOS. So I just kind of want to hear how a guy like you is doing it, because you're younger than me. So.
Yeah, not very well. I'm not a great juggler. No. I'm still, I'm still figuring stuff out. I've got, our team at Site is incredible. They, operationally, I don't have to worry about anything. I've got a really good COO there. The team there is great. And so when we get requests in from clients, it's going to get done. There's a process. They're very diligent about it. So that's been really, really good to be able to have during this transition. We are looking for a CEO to come in and actually run Site for us. I think that we have a lot of opportunity in sales on the technology side and kind of scaling the business and understanding how best to do that. I kind of stepped back from Site a little bit and took over this role at Rabine in January of this year. And, it was something that I was like a little bummed about not being as involved with Site, but also excited for this new opportunity. And then I think that the other positive thing that comes out of it is that now we can look to find a CEO to run Site that has a lot of skills that I don't have, right? Like the venture capital stuff, if we ever want to raise money. I haven't done that before. I've been learning, but if we can find somebody who's done it, that'd be a huge help. I know that's a ton of time, it takes a lot of time to be able to do that. Somebody that can scale a business, preferably that's been in technology before, so that we can kind of take our current model, which is 90% operations and 10% sales and tech, and flip that, right? Like it should be 90% sales and tech team, 10% operations, because the technology is doing a lot of the work for you. And yeah, but other than that, transitioning into the Rabine role has been it's been a lot of fun. Definitely challenges, especially with the current environment with COVID and a lot of the things that are going on in the world. But still learning, still trying to figure out what the best way to juggle it all is. I think that's always my biggest issue with kind of these new, taking on these new responsibilities, or the next kind of step in my career, is that that transition period is difficult for me, because I'm somebody that likes to be productive and efficient with my time. And I feel like during those times, I'm kind of trying to figure out where I need to, what I need to be looking at, who I need to be talking to, spending my time with, to be most efficient. And during that transition time, I don't feel like I have a good handle on that. So still figuring that out, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we all struggle with that. I mean,
yeah.
I sometimes, like even in this podcast, I look at the time and I'm like, holy cow, what tangent did I go on?
Yeah.
Should I have spent more time here or there? But to be honest with you, for me, it's the tangents that kind of make us who we are, right? Like in a day, the only negative to it is in my opinion, it makes my work day longer. But on the flip side, the things that come out of my mouth that make someone say something else, it's really what builds the company, right? Because if no one's talking or communicating, nothing is growing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
and that's more fun. The tangents are fun.
Yeah, they are.
Well, you're excited.
Yeah, I mean, there was a post on LinkedIn. I wish I wrote it down, but it went something like, a good salesman doesn't sell an item; they sell their passion.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, when I look at our success with the technology we're using, there's only a couple of formulas that are making a difference. I always think I'm one of the most passionate people you'll ever meet. Okay. First time we talked for an hour, maybe you'll agree, disagree, I don't know. But secondly is, especially with technology, people love technology, but they want people to help them unwrap the tech. Okay. So what a guy like you or people like us are doing is we're taking something that already exists. You're taking drones and they exist, and you're taking a guy that used to work for NASA that made something to see if there's water on another planet. And now you're saying, how do I take that same technology and put it to use for our customer base, which is nothing different than we're doing. Okay, we're taking something that Husqvarna wanted to make for homeowners to put on in their yard. It's been out since 1995 with no traction. And I said, wait a minute, I can tell you why it doesn't work in the United States. Nobody wants to fire their landscaper because the robot is the same cost as the landscaper. So how do we overcome the issue? You overcome the issue by making the landscapers buy the robots. That's 50% of how lawns are mowed in the United States is by somebody else. So Husqvarna, this big global company, couldn't figure out our North American market. It took a guy living in North America to figure it out, Yeah. But there were many tangents with her and I talking. In many ways, this unfolded to get us where we're at. And we won't be in the same place in 2 years. In 2 years, right, we will have grown and evolved to something that we might look back on and say, wow, that we were like in grade school when we did this podcast on 7/14 of 2020. And it'll be the same thing for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, we look back at Insight specifically. We've got some of the reports that we first started off with that we're sending to clients, and screenshots of the original technology that we were delivering. And it's funny because that was about 2 years ago, and at that time we were like, this is awesome, the clients are loving it, we loved it, And now we look at it and we're like, man, what were we thinking? Like that I can't believe that people actually got value out of that. And we're just light years ahead of it. It's so cool.
No, yeah. I mean, I look at our first robotic install we did, we stapled all of the wire. Like literally, I didn't have a cable layer. I myself and my stepson took us 5 hours with 2 of us, so 10-hour install. And I'm thinking, holy shit, how am I going to scale this? The amount of hours I just had in the install in a 28-week mowing season, I'm a third of the way through the labor. Like, what am I going to do here, you know? And then you figure out, okay, how do I lay wire faster? How do we zone things out? Julie and I developed this app. It took us, how many months into the app are we right now?
Well, we developed it, I feel like, pretty quickly just to actually get it done. But it took us a few months, 4 to 5 months.
Easily half a year, right? But now, very short, well, now actually not very shortly, it's live. You could go on Play Store and type in AOS/Langton, and there's an app that we use. You can measure total CRM, makes work orders, it schedules everything. Because that's what it came down to. Like, how do we streamline in order to scale this, right? Because I cannot scale it with a pad of paper.
Well, and even like completely different sides, sales and a technician, like login, so that you get it from both sides.
Yeah. So but anyways, you know.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So all right. Well, what time do we start? 1:15. We're easily over an hour here. I think that I think that you got any questions for him, Jules? Anything as far as the young entrepreneurs? Any questions you have?
Now I'm on the spot.
This is what I do. I like to put my daughter on the spot.
I don't enjoy being on the spot. This is how you push her
to be great, you know?
I don't know. I don't know. How is it for you working with your dad all the time? For me, I enjoy it a lot, but I feel like I don't know if other people would enjoy it. Like, I don't know. It's awesome.
That's a great question. Because she said she enjoys it, Austin.
We might need to edit this part out. No, I'm just kidding. No, I love it. I mean, you know, there's definitely times that we'll get into it, and you know, I might not love it for, you know, at that point or the next day, but it's a lot of fun working with them because it's, you know, I think one of the things, and I always forget the exact quote. It was from Jeff Bezos, and it was essentially, you know, about work-life balance, and it was, you know, he was basically saying like work-life balance is garbage. It's not, you know, it's not these separate compartments. It's a circle, and it's your life, and you want to enjoy your work, you want to enjoy your personal life, but it kind of all melds together, right? And I've always thought that even before hearing that quote, and that's what I've liked. I've always liked, you know, working from the office, and then, you know, I'll take a call when I'm on vacation or work when I'm on vacation. I'm always, you know, working. I think that working with my dad and family is part of that as well. You know, it's at the dinner table and we're having a fun conversation about what's going on in the business. Maybe not always fun, but usually fun, and talking about, you know, where the business should be going and what's going well and things that we can improve on. So that's definitely a different dynamic that is challenging, but I wouldn't change it. It's a blast. I love working with him. So, and he's, as of the last few months, I think he's really kind of, seems like he's trusted me a lot more than he has in the past to kind of make a lot of the decisions for the business. And it's more of, you know, things I'll run by him. He's like, yeah, that's what you and the team think is best, then do it. And, you know, let me know how it goes. So it's been a lot of fun, and, you know, it's been most of my life working with him. So it's been, I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
I mean, my thing that I would say, and I've never actually said this to her, I don't think, before, but I'll say it to you so you can understand, because you and your dad and I, we seem to have similar minds, is, you know, for me, when I work with my daughter, I see a young me in her. Okay. So the difference is I didn't own my own business at 19. I had to work a day job to build my business. Mm-hmm. So when I see, and maybe this happens with you and your dad without you even realizing it, is when I see her making like the former me mistakes, I, of course, have to bite my tongue, because there's a part of me that just wants to say, nope, made that mistake before. You don't want to do it that way. But then I also know she doesn't look. I only turned out to be who I am because I made the mistake. And the mistakes teach you more than someone telling you not to make it. So I think that is the one thing, as a father that works with his daughter and stepsons, I would say to any son working with his father is just to maybe understand that sometimes it's as difficult for us as it is for you guys, just from a different side. You know?
But now I'm sitting here wondering what mistakes I made.
No. It's in managing, like, you know, if somebody's like giving you lip. So it's like, you know, it's like anything about it. Like the other night when we have a conversation, you know, somebody's giving her lip and or not doing what she wants to do. I kind of get on her. She gets upset. My knee-jerk reaction as a dad is to call and fire the 3 people that pissed off my daughter, okay? But then her knee-jerk reaction is, well, then Monday morning we're going to have a meeting. But then I'm like, hold on, we're really busy right now. I'm not going to Monday morning bring the whole company's morale down for the rest week. We'll do it on a Friday afternoon. See, these are the differences, you know. We'll let it marinate with them for a weekend instead of doing it on Monday, you know. See that.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
No, it's great though. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, okay. Well, it's been awesome to get to know you and learn more about your business than I knew when this started. Hopefully you tune in. There's going to be a lot of people I'm going to interview on this that I think you're going to really appreciate. You know, our goal at the podcast, and I'm saying this because it's good for everybody to know what we're doing, is to bring people like you and your dad who are people using this technology and bringing it to use, and then also to bring engineers of the technology also on the podcast.
Cool.
And, you know, basically try to inspire thoughts in both directions. An engineer comes on about something they developed, and then just like I figured out new ways to use your stuff. Everybody, we've turned into like one big think tank that tunes into automating success. And we all grow on the podcast.
Love it. That's great. Yeah, and I'm in Woodstock a couple days a week, so I'll definitely shoot you a text.
Yeah, shoot me a text. I need you to see the Swazi. You got to see the Swazi.
Yeah.
They have the left-hand robotic machine, so I got to show you those machines. I really think they could work out in your organization. So, all righty.
Cool. Thanks again. Good talking to you guys.
Thanks for all the time.
Nice talking to you.
Bye.
Bye.